Welcome everyone to the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast show with myself, Aaron, and Tom. Season 3 kicks off tonight. It's crazy. It's been our 2-year anniversary already, and here comes Season 3. And for this one, we went north of the border, and it's Chantal. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good. Now, last night, I don't know what your music taste is, but I went to watch a fellow Canadian of yours. He's a
Okay.
crooner, Mr. Michael Bublé,
Yes.
in Nashville. And, during the show, he's talking about how the last 2 years have been very, very rough. And I can say from the Canadian guests that we've had on our show, there's a part of me that believes that the Canadian guests have had it a little bit worse because a lot of them traveled to the States to work and they weren't able to travel to the States. I know a lot of COVID restrictions were a little bit different. How was it for you and how did you deal with it?
Um, I feel like Canada was way stricter than anywhere else. I mean, I get it, but it was just a bit excessive, to be honest. Like, it just felt like it lasted forever. No wrestling. My weekly job, my day job, we were closed for quite some time as well. So it was nice to have a little time off, but after a while, like it just, I don't know, you couldn't do anything, you can go anywhere. It was too much. Like after a while, like we were getting so tired of this. So but like everything has like a little positive that comes with it. The wrestling shows locally here in Canada are like booming because people were craving so much like entertainment. So it's that's the upside of it, I guess.
Hey, and I saw you laugh when I said Michael Bublé, so I'm going to say it's not your musical taste, correct?
No, respect the guy. It's no. Got
Yeah,
different music taste.
yeah.
I've never heard.
Yeah, Tom's like he's never heard of him, but it was my wife's graduation present, and he put on a great show, and I think it's kind of like what you're talking about. It was the first concert I've been to since the pandemic.
Right.
It felt really good to be out and about with thousands of people having fun, forgetting about everything. But during that time frame, did you ever question yourself on whether or not this would ever get back to normal? Did you think about maybe quitting the business or anything?
No, I never thought of quitting because like when you have like a passion for something and it's like really, you know, um, it's really big, you're like it'll get better. You have like high hopes, right? But it was very hard. It was tough. Mainly like to travel even within Canada. Like Canada and its provinces are so spread out. Like where I am in New Brunswick to go to Quebec, just like in our neighbor province, like Montreal is like 11 hours from here, and it's just usually going there with a car, it's like it's a long trip, but you do what you got to do. But it's obviously easier to get there by plane, and that was very difficult during that time because airports are like, they're very strict. So I everything was kind of like on hold for a while. Like not a lot of promotions were running. It gave us a little break, but yeah, very glad to be back.
Now, do you have hope that maybe we've learned, even as a society, not necessarily just in Canada, but in the states as well, of how to handle these type of pandemic situations? That maybe if things were to get worse again, we would be able to do things a little differently.
I think so. Now that we know, like, okay, if we don't do these things, like that's what's going to happen. We're going to have to be like on lockdown for longer. So I think that everybody, as much as people like anti-vaxxers or anti-mask, uh, I think that mostly everybody will be like, okay, let's just suck it up for like a few weeks and then we'll be back to normal, as opposed to just like, no, 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 not going to do it. I don't want a mask. Like, well, just fucking wear the damn thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you mentioned, there was this time frame where you were down, but now the wrestling business is back booming better than ever.
Yeah.
Was it sort of like a bicycle? Once you've learned, how to train your body in the ring, that you were able to just go right back into the flow again, or did you find it hard to pick up where you left off?
It was definitely hard. Just mainly because like going to training wasn't really possible as much as like I'm sure some people still, got together and but yeah, it was a bit difficult. Like cardio wasn't there as much, like, but yeah, it felt it felt natural again, like shortly after. So that's really good.
Now, so physically not being able to train and work and things like that is a setback, but were you able to maybe watch some wrestling that was going on and study and do that aspect of the training?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. That's all I did was watch wrestling, like, because I was taught the very like old school way. I got trained very old school. And the independent scene is like so big. So it's a bit different from how I was taught. So I was watching that a lot because if I want to wrestle more in the States, which is my plan for this coming year, um, I just needed to know like how to prepare for that. And I found a lot of new promotions, like just watching wrestling constantly and just, getting to know local or independent wrestlers. And it's nice to know like who you would maybe be facing like along the road. So that helped me a lot.
You mentioned the states. I feel like that you can go to any state here in the United States on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and you can find a promotion running. You can find someone who's on the cusp of perhaps getting signed to an AEW, a WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling. But I feel like sometimes that the Canadian talent gets very overlooked because, like you're talking about, it's so widespread. It's
Yeah,
11 hours from this place to this place. There's not as many promotions.
right.
So, what do you do to try to get yourself noticed to those masses?
You just work so hard and you just need to grind. Like I will quote Alex Shelley on the documentary of the life of, he said it's a dog eat dog business, but because of the grind, like the grind is so like people work so hard to try to get to where they want to go and everybody has the same goals, right? So it's just the consistency of like working and making sure that you go as many places as you can uh to get noticed or get seen. And I'm not saying that it's easier for women. It's just I'm saying like in Canada there's less women wrestlers than men, so you're more likely to go to all these places and have all these opportunities, as opposed to men where there's so many men wrestlers that it's like, well, why would I pick you? There's so many, as opposed to women. It's like, hey, I need women. Okay, see, okay. Oh, I noticed her. I noticed her. So that's kind of like one thing that I've always been like grateful for is the opportunity, and not necessarily the lack of women. Obviously, like it's nice to have a lot of women in the business, but it's just it's a good thing for women to be able to have those opportunities, maybe more.
Do you feel like as a woman, it's harder for you to separate yourself from another woman talent, especially character wise? There's I don't want to say that there. I feel like when I turn on my television and I watch men wrestle, sometimes there's like I can watch 5 matches and I see 5 different characters, but sometimes I can see 3 women's matches in a row and only see 2 characters out of maybe 6 women's talent. Does that kind of make sense? Where they're not, developing their character a little bit. They're perhaps just the happy baby face. So, as your Savage character,
Mm-hmm.
how do you go about preparing so that way you can stand out a little bit more and be noticed?
Um, Well, I got this name basically because there was only two women in my area in New Brunswick. So there was only two women wrestling, and I had no choice. If I wanted to have matches, I had to work in or wrestle intergender matches. So that got me to really go hard. Like I'm not gonna hold back. Like I have to give everything that I have. Like it's a man. Most of the time they were bigger than me, stronger than me, and I just had to lay it in. You know what I mean? So that's where it comes from. But I think that like my character is just myself. I'm Chantal. That's my real name. Um, but I'm not your typical like baby face. Like cheer for me. That's just not me. Like when I was younger, when I watched wrestling, my favorite that really caught my eyes was China, because any other woman was like in a bikini and be like, I'm pretty. I'm here to. And that's not why I loved watching wrestling, was because China was like so impressive, and it's like, okay, she's badass. I love her. So I'm just being myself, but at a volume turned way up. And yeah, I'm hoping to stand out. And so far in my area, it's been going really well. But like I said, there's not many women in this area, so it's like I get noticed by the fans, yes, but once I go in the more like in the United States, there's so many good women, and it's like, so I will have to step up my game, obviously.
So the independent scene in the United States is everywhere.
Yeah,
Like he was talking about. It doesn't matter where you're at. There's several promotions running,
yeah.
lots of opportunities, and you can make a really good living on the independent scene
Right.
if you make a name for yourself and those things. Do you have an ultimate goal of a certain promotion that you want to work for, or is the wrestling the creative freedom, is something like that more important than a destination?
I would say yes. I don't have. I'm just like very grateful, first of all, to even have the opportunity to get flown to Montreal. It's like, whoa, that to me, that's amazing. Like, who am I? You know what I mean? So I think that wherever wrestling takes me, I'll be just as grateful as an opportunity on a big stage. But I want to know how far I can go. And I'm just not going to stop until like, okay, I'm getting there. But I just love pro wrestling, and I even if I just wrestle on the indie scene and that's it, like I'll be just as content.
If you got your choice and someone said, listen, we can send you to the States right now and work with some of the best actual wrestlers in the world, or we can send you to the States right now and send you with some of the best creative minds in the world, which would you choose for you right now in your life?
I right now it's really hard to answer because like big names will challenge you. Big names will make you be better, you know? But creators will help you like really put matches together in a way that you didn't know you could. You know what I mean? Like it'll have you like have a more open mind of everything, which would help after that get the opportunity to wrestle big names. So it's a really tough choice, honestly. Um, God, I right now I would say like I don't know. I really don't
Well,
know.
and that's perfectly fine. I just feel like sometimes when I watch some talent, I'm like, man, this person is amazing. But if
Right.
someone could help them creatively, they could be the next big star. Period.
Right.
And that's what I think. A lot of these smaller promotions, let's be honest, some of these smaller promotions, probably in Canada as well, they
Mhm.
don't have the mindset to put those matches together like you're talking about. They don't have the mindset
That
to
is right.
be able to guide you. They have almost every match just about the same. There's no real creative juices flowing, which to me hinders a lot of athletes.
Right. No, I agree.
So, talking about some of the big names that you might would like to wrestle, do you have like a list of talent that you got your eye on that you've been watching?
Um, I got two for sure. Tony Storm is like I I always say this, like I would love to wrestle Tony Storm and Makito.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, as we're filming this, yeah, Tony is set to wrestle former guest Kylan King tonight on AEW Dynamite. So yes,
Yeah.
I think that is what you're talking about too. I love the fact that you went with two names that aren't American. I think and aren't the normal names. A lot of times we get odd wrestle Charlotte and Sasha, and
Right.
you chose Makito and you chose Tony Storm. What is it about Makito that kind of intrigues you so much?
I don't know. She's just so good, like character wise, and like just in the ring. She has so much charisma. You know what I mean? She's like a little devil. I just love watching her in the ring. It's like so entertaining, and it's like she's really really good. And for Tony Storm, it's the intensity, and it's like I always love watching her matches, and like it never disappoints me because she's the type of wrestler slash person like who she is in the ring that I think that I am as well. So I would love to have like an intense match with her.
You mentioned intergender wrestling a lot. Is there any men that you would love to get in the ring with and have a great matchup with?
Honestly, I've never really thought about that. Um, yeah, I'll have to think of that actually. But like I watch Alex Shelley. I watch like Will Osprey is like really really impressive, you know. Um, but yeah, there's so much talent out there. It's insane.
Yeah, Will
Insane.
Ospreay is one of those talents. I'm not a professional wrestler. Tom used to wrestle. I've never done it, but I think I could have a good match with Will Ospreay because he would help lead me to a good match. I wouldn't have to really worry about it. Talent like him and Kenny Omega. I saw Kenny Omega wrestle like a blown up doll once. It was entertaining. So I'm pretty sure I could have a good match with some of those people.
Yeah.
So, I got a kind of a strange question,
Yeah.
but looking at the WWE right now,
Yeah.
as a wrestler, prior to Triple H taking over creative and things, is WWE a scary place for somebody to get a phone call? And is it less scary now that Triple H is in charge of creative?
I would say yes. Like I would lie if I said I didn't want to wrestle for WWE. Before it was like, well, they tend to not really use you how to your full potential. Um, but obviously, it would be scary to the point that it is the big stage. It's a lot of pressure. There's no room for mistakes or botch. Um, so yeah, but I think that now being Triple H, that's head of like creation and all that, I think that it would be probably better for um, future like recruits for WWE. So yeah, I would definitely love to have that opportunity as well. Now that it's like more of a relief that they would probably use you as your full potential.
Now, we mentioned that your nickname is Savage, but you're
Yes.
more than that outside of the ring. You are a dog rescuer,
Yeah.
and so there's nothing savage about that. That's pure heart. So talk to me a little bit about how you got into that.
Yes. So about 2 years ago, I rescued my first dog. Like I've always had dogs, like, you know, when I was living with my parents and all that. But when I moved in a bigger city to train for wrestling, that was about 4.5 years ago. Um, so after that, like I rescued my first dog. So that was about 2 years ago. And I really loved like how the process of the rescue that I went through, and I was like really fascinated by that. And I asked them if they needed help, and they're like, "Oh my God, we would love to have more volunteers." So I started volunteering with them, and it's so like it's a whole different world. Like you get to like so what we do here in Canada is that we have a group on Facebook, and people who are looking for a dog, they join that group and they see all these dogs. The only thing, they just can't see the dog before they adopt the dog, because they're all in the States in high kill shelters. We don't really have any high kill shelters in Canada, and it's very, very rare that you'll see a stray dog in Canada for some reason, you know, and thank God, because our winters are insane. But in the South, you know, like Georgia, South Carolina, Texas, there's a lot of places that views dogs as breeding purposes and money signs. So they're just kept outside. They're not loved. They're just, you know, so a lot of them get dumped on the side of the road because they're no use. They're too old. And then they end up in a shelter. And it's just, anyways, like there's so many shelters that we work with, and they send us videos, and it's like, oh my God, like these poor thing, like dogs getting freaking beaten. And it's just, anyway, so I just couldn't not help out with that. So every single month we process applications, like we do like a background check for people to make sure that they're good people. And every single month we have a bus, like a transit van, that brings about 50 dogs across the border, and their new family picks them up, and it's the happiest moment of my month. Well, aside from wrestling, but yeah.
That's great. So
Yeah.
give a shout out to that organization, because I want to make sure we give them a little shout out, or whoever it is that you're helping work for.
Yes, so it's on Facebook. It's called Hearts of the North. So in north of Canada. So yes, if you are in this side of Canada and you want to adopt, you know, but obviously, like anyone could adopt, even in the States. Like we just need to process the person's application and do a background check to make sure that they're good people.
Yeah, you know, a couple years ago we lost our Yorkie, and I was like, never again. I'm never getting another dog. It could have just ripped me apart. And there I was about a year and a half later getting another one. So I just don't know what life's like without a dog. I really don't. And Tom's got 8. So you know, yeah. So Tom, she's gonna start sending you some rescues. It's happening. So you can get some more for sure. Yeah.
I have a problem, and my wife has a bigger problem with, if we see one that needs a home, not going and getting it. But we are at capacity.
Yes.
And she keeps trying to show me these pictures that she finds on Facebook every day. And I'm like, we are at capacity.
You would not be able to foster.
No.
Fostering but I try to explain to people that, yes, you're going to be sad when the dog leaves you, but if the dog doesn't go to your home and stays in the kill shelter, it's going to be his turn, you know, to get euthanized for space. So like your tears are worth it, you know? So yeah.
But we are full.
Yes. Oh my God. I have 3 and that's enough.
I've got 1, and I feel like that's enough. Because I feel bad if we have to leave for a few hours. Like let's say we're gone for about half the day doing something. I always feel kind of bad. I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So, but that's okay. It shows we got a good heart. It shows it's in the right place, just like you. So shout out to you for all that great work that you do. And before we let you go, tell everyone where they can find you on social media. Here's your shot.
Okay. So on Facebook, I have a Chantal Pro Wrestler page. On Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, it's the same thing. SVG, standing for Savage _ Chantal.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Greatly appreciate it, and best of luck. Hopefully, we can catch up with you again soon.
Thank you guys.
All right. For everyone else out there, hey, like we said, it's season 3. We're kicking it off great. We got some great guests lined up all the way until almost October already. And again, Tom and I have got a great opportunity coming up here in the next few weeks. Still don't want to say what it is because, man, things go wrong crazy fast around here sometimes. So just continuously hit that subscribe button, because with everyone hitting the subscribe button, it gives us some recognition and helps us out as well. And then the more recognition we get, the more great guests we can have come on the show, like Chantal, which we greatly appreciated. Head on over and give her a follow as well. For myself and Tom, make sure everyone's doing what they need to do. Stay safe so you can go out, watch all the great talent across the world. We appreciate y'all greatly, and we'll see y'all next week.